Hi, I'm Bethany Warren, and you are joining me to listen to the podcast of our Millwall fan show with the No One Likes Us Talking team, which is available every Friday at 8 p.m.
It's Friday night. I'm your host, James Kelly, and I have the No One Likes Us Talking team of Stan Godwin, Gary Staff, and Jeff Burnage.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Hi Gary, good to have you back again. I've enjoyed your interview special with Jeff, and both episodes are very good, covering 13 players of particular note. Did you learn much from the experience, and have you got your eyes on a further interview target?
Yes, me and Jeff, we're going to be talking about doing another run through of some more players in the future. I have got my eyes on another person for the future, but I'm going to keep that under my hat for the moment. But what I learned from Jeff's interview was his lovely relationship that he had with Tim Cahill, and what a lovely relationship that is.
Hi Stan, how has this wonderful weather we've been having affected you in your liaisons with Ted?
Oh dear. Well, everything's been going well with Checkpoint Charlie, but the weather, well, that's something else. And I'm glad to see the back of all this heat. It's done. I can't handle this heat at all. I get short-tempered, and everything becomes an effort, even the most simplest of things. So we had some rain today, and it was a bit cooler yesterday. So, no, hopefully everything's okay. It's
good to hear. Hi, Jeff. Lovely to hear about your long-standing relationship with Tim Cahill, and I hope the recording didn't affect your sunbathing.
It did a little bit, but even I found it a bit hot this week. But I'm just a bit shocked to hear that it made Stan bad-tempered. I find it hard to believe. I've got to point out that the stories I told about Tim and my late wife, and my daughters, that is some time ago. It's a while since I've spoken to Tim and family. In fact, when he came back to the ground, when he came back to the club a couple of years back. I think the stories I told were an indication of the personalities and the characters of some of the players that we discussed, Tim being one of them.
Our first guest tonight is a left-sided defender who can also play as a midfielder. He represented England at the under-16 and under-17 levels, and was born in Dagenham and was at West Ham United's academy until 2005, where he moved to Tottenham Hotspur's academy. He signed his first professional contract with Spurs on the 1st of July 2007. From Spurs, he moved to Blackpool and then on to Gillingham before joining the Lions in 2015. After 2 seasons with Millwall, he moved to Stevenage and then Northampton Town, where he is currently contracted. It is that man whose brother played for us too, and whose father was a West Ham legend. Welcome, Joe Martin.
Hi, how you doing?
Very well, thanks. Joe, great to have you on the show, but in awkward times for any player, particularly in the lower 2 tiers of the English Football League. How are you coping with it?
Yeah, it's not been too bad. It's a little bit strange at the minute. We're kind of trying to adapt to what it is. We're going into train, not really going into the grounds and training grounds. We're just kind of training, going back home. We at Northampton, we had some playoff games, which was a bit surreal because obviously there was no crowds there. So we kind of, had to adapt to that a little bit, try and get ourselves up for the game. But we ended up winning the playoffs, so it didn't work out too bad in the end. But it's just strange times for everyone, I think. But I think everyone's going to have to adapt over the next few months until the new year, and hopefully we get more fans in the stadiums.
Yeah, hi Joe, it's Stan here. How did your move to Millwall come about from Gillingham, mate?
So basically, I was at Gillingham for about 4.5 years, and about 2 years into the when I was at Gillingham, there was a chance I was going to go to either Charlton or Millwall, but I ended up staying at Gillingham because we got promoted. We had Martin Allen at the time, and we had a really good year. I ended up staying at Gillingham for another 2 years, and then that summer I came to the end of the contract, and then I had a call. I had a couple of injury problems that year, but then I had a call from Chopper quite early on in the off season, and saying there was we'd like to meet up kind of thing. I went and met Chopper at Holiday Inn in Brentwood. I remember it like quite clearly, and just we chatted, and then I think we both I got on well with him straight away. And I was, obviously at the time, Mill was like a massive club. I obviously knew straight away if there was interested, I was always going to sign. It was never going to be a question of that. And then, that was, quite early on in the summer, really, but he didn't get released till later on. That I was pretty much his first signing, so I don't know what he was thinking, but it was all done pretty quick.
Oh, right.
Interesting you talk about Neil there, Joe. What was he like as a manager to work under?
So Neil was very simplistic. He knew exactly how he wanted to play. He knew exactly what the fans wanted at Millwall, and I think everyone who was in that squad at the time knew what was expected of them, and his attention. I think Neil, more than any other manager that I've had, his attention to detail was better than anyone I'd ever had. So you're like briefing.
Do you think that's what's helping him now? He's moved on to Cardiff as well, maybe for a different challenge. Possibly,
yeah. I think even the higher you go up, the attention to detail is even more important. And he definitely had that. I think, obviously he had people around him that he trusted, and he knew what was expected from them. And like I said, it was just, I think more than any other manager I've had, his attention to detail was second to none, really. And he knew it was black and white. That's what I always say. I think I've had fairly decent managers, a couple of decent managers over the year, and it was always black and white. The good managers and not so good managers is always black and white, and he had that, which, like you say, I think probably is helping him at the minute at that better standard. So cool. Neil was good, and also he was good at man managing as well. He would talk to players. He wasn't like an army general. Do you know what I mean? You could go in and see Neil and speak to him if you weren't happy with something, or if he wanted to, have a go at you. He would do that. So I'm not surprised that Neil's done well, to be honest with you.
Cool.
No, nor am I. Evening, Joe. It's Jeff here.
Hi, Jeff.
There is a couple of things I'd like to ask you about. One of them is, we all got the impression that it was a very important part of Neil's style that he wanted to get the team and the crowd united as one. Yeah. And is that something you ever referred to when talking to the players?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much every team talk. He was talking about like the Millwall way, or when you had. To be honest with you, there's no other club I've been at, and then they say that's the Millwall way. And you knew what they were talking about. Just the Millwall way, and he knew exactly what that was. And I think he set out. He knew what he wanted to do. I think he wanted a solid 8, and he had Lee Gregory and Steve Morrison up top, and he knew they was going to cause problems. And we had the two wingers who was going to put cross. I just think he knew. He'd obviously been watching it a couple of seasons before. He was under 23 manager, and he could see he'd obviously played there and see what worked. And he was obviously sitting there thinking, this is what's going to work for this club. And pretty much straight away it worked. His first 2 seasons, I think we got to play off both times, and obviously got promoted the second year.
Yeah, I was thinking that before he was the manager, there were times when it seemed that the crowd thought, that the team thought it was the crowd's job to get them going, But Neil obviously had the belief that it was the team's job to get the supporters on board, and they would respond if they were given something to respond to.
Exactly.
But I'm interested to know, when you are on a match day, take a home match day, what used to be the last thing he would say to you before you went out for the game?
You're talking a few years ago now. I mean,
what kind of things did he highlight in the dressing room before you went out?
I mean, obviously we do all our preparation on a Thursday and Friday tactically, and then it would just be like on a Friday it'd be more like, you know what's expected. Like all our work was done throughout the week. So like I said, his attention to detail was done through the week. And then on the Saturday, he wouldn't really say loads, really, to be honest with you. But he said like a Millwall performance. Like it's very difficult to say if you have never been at the club, within the club, or watched a Millwall game, then it'd be very difficult to explain to someone what a Millwall performance is or what a Millwall team is. But once you've been at the club and experienced the atmosphere and stuff like that, he'd always just kind of say that was a Millwall performance. That was a proper team, and everyone knew what he was talking about. So yeah, he wasn't, like I said, he never tried to complicate it. He knew what worked for the club. He knew it was quite simple and black and white, really. So yeah, he just, like I say, it was always very clear what was expected of everyone.
Joe, I mean, I'm listening very carefully to what you're saying, and it sounds, it was clearly everything was, there was a load of momentum going on at the time.
Yeah.
Did you? Let me ask this, right? When because obviously to some degree you've heard about the history between Millwall and West Ham and whatever, which I'm not going to drone on about too much. But what I'm going to say is, when you was first, was you sort of? I'm not talking about when you spoke to Neil and he was telling you what he wanted to do and not do in the club. But did you? Was there a doubt in your mind that might be the West Ham Millwall thing might become a problem?
Well, I knew when I signed for the club, I knew that if things didn't go well, then I knew there could be a problem. I think when I first signed for the club, obviously I'm not massively keen on social media and stuff like that. I have got social media accounts and stuff, but I never really use them. But when I first signed for the club, I was getting kind of like messages like, like obviously from Millwall fans, like obviously saying scum and I you break your legs and all that, and but like I took it with a pinch of salt because I knew. Like a lot of football fans, if you put it in, and Neil's actually said to me in the meeting, he said if you give 100% and you do this, you do that, then it doesn't matter. Like they'll like you. They'll like you. As long as you always give 100%. I think that was probably the main thing. If the Millwall fans knew that you was giving 100%, then they'd take to you. Regardless. Well,
I'll tell you what, that's true, because, a couple of years prior to that, Glenn Johnson he came to Millwall, and unfortunately he went back earlier there, but that was because of the different transfer window system as it was then. But, but all the time he was at Millwall, I never heard anyone complain about, where he played before. And I said to some bloke one day, I said, well, perhaps a lot of that's got to do with the fact he's a good footballer. People are more interested in what he does on the field and all that sort of thing. But I'm glad it's. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, I'd like to know a bit more, Joe, about what it was like when losing the playoff game at Wembley, and how the team reacted to that.
Well, the playoff game was a strange day because, we had loads of momentum going into that game, and then the day itself was a little bit all over the place because I felt like we was probably favourites, but obviously Byron Webster got injured in the warm-up, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then obviously TC had been out for 6 months, hadn't played, and then obviously straight away we TC was going to be called on because obviously he's been such a good player for Millwall over the years, but he hadn't played, so we was a bit all over the place first 20 minutes, and I don't think we really recovered from it. And then obviously we was 2-0. I can't remember what the score was. It was 3-1 down, 2-1 down at half time, 3-1 down at half time. I'd obviously done my calf just before half time, and then we had to make another substitution. I just think it was one of them days where it just wasn't meant to be. And then obviously they got the goal in the second half. But it was just a bit of a mess. I think with big games like that, you just need things to go smooth, and it didn't, and it just wasn't meant to be that day. And then the year after, obviously we didn't start great. There's probably a little bit of a hangover from the disappointment. But then after Christmas time, the team went on an unbelievable run, and then again we had momentum going to the playoffs. But obviously, I think a little bit as well. Neil learnt from his mistakes because he was first year, it was his second year in management, so everything went a bit smoother. He stuck to what he knew, and then obviously the playoffs the second time round went exactly how everyone expected it to, really, and we ended up getting promoted.
Joe, it's Gary again. Just when I'm taking you back to a more nicer part of that first season under Neil.
Yeah.
That free kick, what was going through your mind, mate?
Well,
and was that the plan?
It was a bit mad because obviously before that I gave away the pen, didn't I?
Yeah, I was going to say that. It was a bit of an up and down.
Yeah, so I could feel all the Millwall fans' daggers ready for me at the end of the game if it didn't go well. So yeah, I gave away the pen. Do you know what? Before that game was the worst. I only just made that game because the 2 days before that game I had a really bad sickness bug. So I hadn't eaten for 2 days. I travelled up separate from the team, so I didn't pass it on to anyone. I played the game, and then first 20 minutes gave away the pen. And I thought, oh my God, what have I done here? And then I just thought, I'd get my head down, and then ended up, we had the opportunity, we got a goal back straight away after the pen. And then the free kick come about, and I just thought, right, I'm taking this, no matter what, I'm taking this. Because I wanted to kind of redeem myself a little bit. And then I just fancied it straight away, because about 4 weeks before that we actually played Bradford away, and I hit a free kick and it just skimmed the post, and it was near enough the same spot. So I just thought, I fancy this, I want to take it, and I took it, and it ended up going in, luckily for me. And then 3-1, I think it was 3-1 at half time, so that was, and we come back to the den for the second leg, and there was never any danger, really. They
threw everything at us in the second half as well, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, but I think we had a team that could stand up to anyone, really, in that league. You know, we had a strong 8 at the back, and we had the 2 up top, Greggs and Morrow, that would cause anyone problems, to be fair.
Yeah.
And there was never any danger. And it was I remember that second game, I just remember it was just carnage, like all the fans on the pitch. I think it was all just everyone just waiting for this final whistle, really, because we all kind of knew that we weren't going to let them concede or let them beat us 3-1 at home. Not at the Den on the Friday night, anyway. No. I don't think the fans would have allowed it. So yeah, that was good. That was a good time after the second leg. So yeah.
Well, it's been great talking to you, Joe, and thanks for coming on the show. But just a quick question from me before you go. Do you still follow the fortunes of Millwall?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm obviously, I still, there's players there that I played with. Obviously, Marlon. Marlon was a kid when I was at Gillingham, and it's been interesting to see his. Obviously, now he's a mainstay of the Millwall team. Obviously, Tomo. I've met up with Tomo a few times. It's good to see that he's come back from his injury, and he's obviously the fans love him there. So there's players there that I still look out for. Obviously, I look out for the results all the time. But it's definitely a club that I enjoyed being at.
That's great.
So, yeah,
that's great to hear, Joe. What do you think? How do you think it's going to pan out for the Lions this season?
I mean, it's a tough one because obviously they've had a good season last year. Nearly got obviously in the playoffs and stuff like that. So it's always difficult to reboot and think, right, what are our targets going to be? So for them, I don't know what their targets are going to be next year, or obviously what their squad's going to be like. And to be honest, in football, Championship downwards, everyone's kind of like a little bit, probably a few weeks behind where they would be, in their planning, like with squads and stuff like that. So I think probably people are waiting to see how their squads are going to be, and it's going to be a little bit all over the place first few months.
Yeah.
But if they get a good squad, like it's never. Funny enough, I think fans or not, I think it's a difficult place to go to. Still, style of play, and I've not been able to go to many games over the last, obviously, since I've left, because obviously I've been playing at Northampton, but I'm guessing it's still a difficult place to go. But yeah, I mean, whatever route sets his team out and what their targets are, it'd be interesting to see how it goes next year. To be honest, I have no idea. But yeah.
Lovely stuff. Well, from all of us here, we all wish you the best for the season up ahead with Northampton back in League One, of course.
Thank you.
No worries. Take care, Joe.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, see you,
Joe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Season, Joe. Thanks for coming on.
No problem. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
It's Joe Martin there. So we're going to take a break there, and then we'll listen to Kai Bennett talking about his YouTube channel, Millwall Fan TV.
Hey, I'm Kai from Millwall Fan TV. On Millwall Fan TV, I cover pre-match predictions, post-match analysis, and a bit of full-time reaction when we can go to the games. Also, quite a few X-Lines chats on my YouTube, actually, as we speak right now. I've got some Martin Wolford, Scott Barron, that just a couple to name a few. So do it for the love of Millwall. Absolutely love Millwall, and let's hope we can push on next year and make the playoffs. And if you could subscribe to Millwall Fan TV, that'd be absolutely amazing, and hopefully we can follow the journey together. Comedy Lines.
I'm James Kelly, and I'm back with the Millwall No One Likes Us talking team of Jeff Burnage, Stan Godwin and Gary Staff. Next up, we talk to the person who was appointed as first-team manager of the Millwall Lionesses for the upcoming Eastern Region Women's Football League Division 1 South for the 2020-21 season. Welcome for the very first time on the show, Katie Whitmore.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, guys.
Pleasure. Katie, I believe you played for the Lionesses in the past, so could you tell us a bit about the journey that brought you back to manage the club?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to play for Millwall Lionesses under-16s growing up, which obviously being a big Millwall fan was a good opportunity and a big opportunity for me at that age. And then went on to play obviously local football, and then got my role as the safeguarding officer for Millwall Football Club at the Community Trust and the Millwall Academy. So obviously working quite closely within the Community Trust within my safeguarding role, which then allowed me to be given the opportunity to be the first team manager for the Lionesses, really.
Stan, do you have a question?
Yeah, hang on. Katie, Stan here. Before your appointment with the Lionesses, you were with the Millwall Community Trust, an organisation I personally hold in great esteem. Briefly, how would you sum up your impact in the community that they serve?
I think, Millwall Community Trust do so much for the community. There's so many programmes that they run. The Lionesses just being one of those programmes. And we're continually having conversations and, bouncing ideas of what more can we do. And, we always want to make sure that we're going above and beyond for the community and what we can offer. So I think, I do believe that we play a big impact to the community with the programmes that we run, the support that we offer, and for all age groups, really, male, female. We try and cater programmes or be able to offer programmes to kind of everyone within that community, which I think, I know Kelly was on last week and, she's obviously the ambassador for the Community Trust, and having someone like Kelly on board as well, a great role model, especially within the women's game, that just allows us to just show and promote how much we can do within the community.
Hi, Katie. It's Gary. Go on, Jeff. You go first.
Yeah, may I? Hi, Katie. Yeah. As you know, I was at the game on Sunday. Even a pre-season game can't keep me away. And I'll be interested to know how you're finding it, because it is a big responsibility, taking on that manager's role at such a historic club. How are you finding it so far? Are you enjoying it, or is it a lot of pressure?
I think with any manager role, really, there is that little bit of pressure, especially because of how successful the Lionesses did last year. We've spent a lot of pre-season talking about that season that they had last year, which obviously was unfortunate that it got cut short due to COVID. But, I think as a manager coming into a team with such success, there is always that little bit of pressure there anyway. But for me, as an individual and as a manager, I feel like I strive better under pressure. I'm making sure that we've made changes, both me and Nick, within the team. We've obviously got the additional signings, and so I'm making sure that this new squad that we've got with the retained players from last year, are just as successful as we was in the previous one. I'm enjoying the role. I couldn't think of a much greater role really for a Millwall fan who's played for Millwall Lionesses. What more would you want really as a manager than to be able to manage Millwall Lionesses first team as a Millwall fan as well. So for me, I am enjoying it. I've got great support from the committee and from the club, so I can't really complain about any of that really.
As you know, this radio programme and now podcast has been very supportive of the Lionesses since the beginning. I think hardly a week's gone by when we haven't mentioned the Lionesses, even if it's only to say where the game is, the following weekend, and refer to it before. And as far as I'm concerned, the more attention we can focus on the Lionesses, the better. But one thing I have noticed, which I think is very interesting, is the pre-season programme you've got lined up for us. Every one of those games is against a team from a higher level of women's football. What was the thinking behind that, do you think?
For me, as manager, we sit and we talk about where we know the girls are more than capable of playing, which, we can sit and have that discussion all the time about where the girls should be able to play. But for me, I think you learn more when you challenge yourself, and playing teams at a higher level. For me, that's a challenge for us as a team and for players as individuals. And that's the opportunity for me and Nick within management to see what areas we may need to work on. We've got aspirations for this team to make sure that they progress, to make sure we get promoted. So for us, we want to then be able to be that one step ahead to go, okay, this is where we want to go. This is the level that they're going to be coming up against if we do get them promotions. Let's see what areas we may need to work on so we can get ahead of the game. So we can already start working on those so that when we are put into them environments, we're ready for it. And I do think that unless you challenge your team and you challenge individuals, yes, okay, sometimes the results aren't going to go our way, like what happened on Sunday. But it was a very even game on Sunday. But it gave me the opportunity as a manager to see the areas and the level that the team are currently playing at.
Hi, Katie, it's Gary. You're talking about the players playing at different levels, incorporating 12 new signings. Quite impressive, by the way. How hard is that becoming, or did you know before you signed them? Right, that one's going to go there. I know, obviously, they've both got their positions, but did you have your main 11 picked before you signed them, sort of thing?
Obviously, we've got the retained players from last season, and pre-season for me is about integrating the new signings into the squad that was already here, to build on the squad that we've retained and an already strong team that we've retained, and making it just that little bit stronger. Each player brings their own ability, own their player ownership to the game. Yeah, so they all bring something to it. So for me, with the 12 new signings, I've sat there and yes, like we've said, they know they've got their positions, and even during training, you'll sit there and go, that person will work fantastic in that role, and let's try this. And for me, pre-season is all about me learning, getting to know, building that rapport with the new signings, building the rapport as well for the retained players, because obviously new manager coming in, you want to build that rapport, and just making sure that we're building that rapport with all of them together, so they are all linking in with each other. To then obviously when we go into a game, when the season starts, we've already kind of knowing how we're going to play and where the new players are going to fit in. So at the moment, I think it is going well. They're all seems to be linking up well at the moment anyway in training. Obviously, the more pre-season games we have, which are scheduled at the moment, the more we'll be able to see that, to then hopefully take it into when the league starts.
And with all that in mind, Katie, where do you see us finishing then?
Well, after the successful season they had last year, I think, it's always been in the pipeline that you're looking up. Well, me as a manager, I'm looking for promotion. They were so successful, and I'll never take that away from them that season. It's just, we know that we're more than capable of doing it. We've got the additional 12 new signings that, are strong enough to obviously come into the squad and make it stronger. So if anything, I'd like to think we're in a better position now than the previous year, because obviously we've added to the squad. So for me as a manager, yes, I'm looking for that promotion. But like I've said before as well, that for me a successful season is also making sure that them players are developing as individual players as well, not just as a team. And I think that's the main focus for us.
One thing I'm looking forward to, Katie, is when we make, I think last year, I think it'll probably be the same this year, our first competitive game could well be in the FA Women's Cup. The draw for it is this time next week, isn't it? So we'll know by Friday of next week, by Saturday of next week, who we're playing and when. But I'm looking forward to that, because the Lionesses have got this unbelievable history in the Women's Cup, having won it twice and been a major force in the game. So I'm hoping that we'll have a decent run in the Cup as well. But obviously, I agree with you. We need to get out of this level up one at the end of this season. So, yes, the league would be my priority as well.
Yeah, I think, like anything, you obviously want to have a successful season within the Cup and the league. But, we keep talking about the levels that the girls are more than capable of playing in. So I think, as a manager, yes, I want to do well within the Cups. But ultimately, it's making sure that we get that promotion so the girls can work their way up, if that makes sense. So, it is going to be, I think it is going to be a tough season, because being new in post as well, you're still getting to know the girls are getting to know you, you're bringing new ideas that, there's going to be some change, there could be some changes and so on. So, it's going to be a hard working season, but at the moment, everything is, everyone's really happy in camp. Everyone is all singing from the same hymn sheet. Everyone wants the same and has the same vision. So for me, as a manager, I can't ask for much more, really, from players and staff, because we're all looking in the right direction. And that means that, at the start of this, when the season does start, the league starts, we're ready to go and hopefully already ahead of the game in making sure that we can get that promotion.
Well, thanks for making your debut with us, Katie, and hopefully you will come back and speak to us again soon. But one quick question from me before you go. As you touched upon, you're a diehard Millwall fan. What do you make of Millwall's chances going into next season?
I think every fan wants to make sure that, or see their club doing well, don't they? And, I do think that they are obviously, they're a hard-working squad. You've got Gary who, since he's come in post, you can see the differences that he's making. And, I do hope that they do well this season. We were just short of it this season, which is in a way still a positive. So yeah, good luck to all of them, really.
Katie, can I just ask the question? Who you said you're an adamant a fierce Millwall supporter. Who, in your opinion, is your favourite all-time player
within the men's game?
Yeah.
Or within the men's game, growing up, it was got to be for me Cahill.
Yeah.
Growing up, and probably Dennis Wise as well. I would have said them two players, to be fair.
Right.
Excellent.
Katie, I was actually going to ask you a quick question. Does Gary Rowett actually get involved or actually spoken to you about the management role of the ladies?
Within the women's manager role?
No.
Involved? So I work with the club and the academy from a safeguarding perspective, so being safeguarding officer. Obviously, there's not the Lionesses is part of the community trust, which obviously is still part of the club, but being new in post within the manager's role, we've not really been able to get round to having a chat or anything like that in regards to the Lionesses, to be honest, because obviously both focusing on pre-season, you've had the COVID situation as well. So, pre-season hasn't exactly gone how it probably naturally would have if COVID wasn't going on at the moment.
Oh, fair enough.
Well, again, thanks for speaking to us, Katie. We wish you and the Lionesses all the best for the season ahead. We'll, of course, be tracking your results and letting our listeners know about your progress throughout the course of the season. So until next time, bye, Katie.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Katie.
Thank you.
Bye, Katie. Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks. So we're going to take a break there and we'll be listening to the lovely tones of Bethany Warren.
Bethany Warren here again. Thanks for listening to our show. Don't forget, Love Sport Radio is now mothballed pending change in current conditions. You can still listen, though, to music both online and on DAB. Podcasts are available on demand. Hopefully, we'll be back on the air with them when normality returns to the marketplace.
I'm James Kelly, and I'm back with the No One Likes Us talking team of Jeff Burnage, Stan Godwin and Gary Staff. Next up, we turn to our fan with the Backroom Staff section. In the Backroom tonight, we talk to a young man famous for his cap and his social media leadership and entrepreneurship, which brought the name of Millwall FC to the cyberspace of the internet, which was a month or so ahead of our own site, which was called Lions Live. He's a Millwall fan, man and boy. He's also a fundraiser, and in particular for Margaret and Barry Mizen's life commitment following the devastating loss of their son, Jimmy. It's the man who created the 45k Millwall Loyal group over 11 years ago, which was followed by many others who created many sites on Facebook in the name of Millwall. We welcome tonight Terry Rees.
Good evening, all right.
Evening, Terry. So, Terry, could you please tell our listeners about what you do in the name of Jimmy Mizen and what's happening in these tough times for charity?
Well, as you say, it's a tough time for everyone, isn't it, at the moment, but particularly for charities who, we all know and love, because charity begins at home, and we've always supported Neil Harris, the Barry Kitchener Cancer Appeal, and Little Harvey with his MPS. But the Mizen one, Jimmy was one of her own, and for about 8 or 9 years now, started up raising money with a lot of other people who have know Jimmy and his brothers from the football and everything, and just different things. We've had 6-a-sides, which Jeff there is with your officers, being a star referee on many a term and year and gone past, and. This year we've done a 10p a gold sponsorship, which we just collected in the money from Millwall supporters online, obviously, because we're very hard to meet up and pass on. But as for the foundation itself, Barry and Margaret have had much change in April. And just let you know, the forjimmy.org, which obviously most people have all have seen in the programmes and all that, that's all changed now. Sadly, both Barry and Margaret had disagreements with the trustees of the charity, the way they were going. So in April, which was a month after lockdown, they started up the misonfoundation.org. And that's what we're striving. That's the new one now. And we're just getting to raise some money online. And Kelly Webster, who you had on last week, the lovely Kelly, she obviously done a solo walking around with her friend Jamie. And that raised a lot of money. So that's the changes at the moment for the Jimmy Mizzen Foundation, as I'll say.
Mm.
Hi, Terry. You know my voice, don't you?
Hello there, mate. All right. Still alive.
Terry, there's many people been called a legend. As far as I'm concerned, you're one, mate. So great to have you on the show. It's always a great day when we remember Jimmy, usually in conjunction with his equivalent at Charlton, the Knox family. Can't remember the name of the boy. Can you remember?
Robbie Knox.
Robbie, that's it, yeah. Maximum credit for what Barry and Margaret do. They're also legends, aren't they? And I think what you've done to help them promote things over the years has been great. It's been said by many radio show hosts that we have appeared with that Millwall and its sense of community is something that shines through, and it shines brighter than in most other clubs. Why do you think that is?
It's it goes back years. I think personally, we've got the hard reputation, and I don't think it's ever going away. But we've also had that leave your front door, back door open for your neighbour mentality as well. And we look after our own, and we anything that we've got a soft heart. We've got a lion heart. We've got a soft heart, and it's been said when we've been to Wembley, which is their second home, as you know. Every time they have a collection there, who raises the most money? The water balls, isn't it? And it's just something we will always do, and hopefully it continues to do so in the future, Jeff.
Yeah, Terrell, it's Stan here, mate. What did you make of our season, and did it exceed the expectations that you held back in August 2019?
Yes, it did. I must admit, I was one of them that, I thought Neil Harris was, he's a legend. Talking about a legend, he's a legend. But obviously, it's the right time. I think he deserved change. And he had a great season at Cardiff as well, getting him into the playoffs. But I think we needed that little bit of alteration and all that. And to be up, with to the QPR game, to be in with a shout, I would say 80% of their supporters, it would have surprised them. Really did. Really would.
Hi, Terry. It's Gary. I get that question that I tend to ask every guest on here. Who's your all-time player and why?
My all-time favourite player is Barry Kitchener. He was everything about Millwall. He was one and only club. He could have gone to Liverpool. Didn't want to know him. His heart was at Millwall. And I always remember when I had a trial at Millwall. I don't know how I got it. I think it was Harry Groves got it. There's a name. And he was at the ground and he said, tap me on the shoulder and he went, don't worry, mate. Go and do your best. I mean, there's no way I would have got into the team or whatever, but it was just nice to have a few words from the great man.
That's a good choice. Terry. I think sometimes we take him for granted. I'm sometimes asked who my favourite player is, and I might say Keith Weller, but There's no one to touch the big fella, Big Kitch. So great that he's got a stand, the main stand named after him. And what you said earlier about Millwall, we've got our tough side, but we've got hearts of lions, but there's also a soft heart. Well, Kitch, or you knew him. That absolutely describes him as well, doesn't it? The kindest heart you can imagine, but what a competitor on the field. Great combination. It makes him an absolute Millwall natural. But that was then. That was then. We now have Troy Parrott, John Daly Bodvarsson, Brad Shaw, Matt Smith. We've got a few strikers now, and it may not be finished. Manager has said that there's a bid in for Kiefer Moore. That's gone by the board. He's gone to Cardiff, to no one's great surprise. What do you make of our group of forwards that we've got at the moment, and what are you looking for from them individually?
Well, obviously, the main thing is they, in this build-up now, they're back on Thursday, wasn't it? And they're going up to Scotland and whatever. After these few games with Mr. Parrott coming in, and they can gel. They get these little tap-ons. I mean, one of the things that let me down personally with the side last season was so many times flick-ons weren't going to the right person. When you got a good front line, people like Cascarino and Sheringham, when they're on song, they didn't have to look up where the other one was. They just knew where they were and where to place that ball. And this forward line need to gel in and hopefully come out and put away these chances, which we only got 64 goals last season. And I think a good team can always knock in over 90.
Yeah, Terry, stand back again. I mean, who is your favourite player in the current squad, or standout player, I should say? And just one thing I would just add to that. I mean, although I don't decry anything was said about Big Kitch, but for me, the finest player I ever see playing in a Millwall shirt was Keith Weller, because watching him was like watching a conductor conduct an orchestra. And but that's my view. But who's your standout player in the current squad?
It's got to be me personally. Jed Wallace is the standout player at the moment, and hopefully he'll keep it keeping, and he can be instrumental for next season. But I personally, it's Ben Thompson for me. His heart's in the club, and he shows that commitment every time he puts on the shirt and goes out.
Terry, Gary again. Given our finish this season, the securing of Woods and Parrott for the next, what do you think we'll realistically finish next season? And do you think we need a couple more?
You always need a few more players, don't you? Especially forward. I mean, one thing I was sad to see was Aidan O'Brien going, because if they could use their heads, the management team, they would have put him up front. I think he's going to have a terrific season for Sunderland, and I wish he'd have been there. But we have got some players, and I reckon could get on song and just start knocking it in, and hopefully Parrott will be the new Harry Kane for us.
Yeah, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Fingers crossed.
Well, thanks for coming on the show, Terry. It was great to hear from you about what you do for the Mizzen Foundation. It also sits at the forefront of our team, and hopefully you'll come back to speak to us again soon after next year's day at the Den for the foundation. But one quick question from me before you go. Who do you think will be our leading goal scorer by the end of next season?
Well, I mentioned his name. I'm going with Ben Thompson, really, because I think it's going to be all the clubs are going to struggle this season with what's going on with COVID, and we don't know whether we're going to have 5,000, 6,000, but we're going to get any more of it. So I reckon a lot of teams like us will be selling people like Jed Hopefully he won't. And that's why I see Ben stepping up from midfield and knocking in 15, 20 goals.
Lovely stuff. Well, thanks, Terry. All the best.
Thank you.
Yeah, cheers, Tel.
Cheers, Terry.
Cheers, everyone there. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you very much. You too. We're going to take a break there, and we're going to listen to the lovely tones of Patricia Maslin.
Hi, Patricia Maslin here. The Millwall Community Trust needs volunteer help. Whether you're an organisation with bodies able to assist or an individual, the Trust needs you during the current conditions to support the vulnerable and needy. Current projects include providing 200 children each day with a hot and healthy meal as part of free sports and education camps over the summer, and providing assistance to those that need continuing support at this time. If you can help make a difference or need help, please contact Sean Daly, the Trust's Chief Executive Officer, by phone on 07 958 02 7060. Once again, that's 07 958 02 7060. Or contact by email sdaly, I'll spell that, SDALY, at millwallcommunity, all one word, .org.uk. I'll repeat that, sdaly, SDALY, at millwallcommunity, all one word, .org.uk. If you can, or you know someone or any organisation who might be able to help, please let the Community Trust know. Thank you.
I'm James Kelly, and I'm back with the No One Likes Us talking team of Jeff Burnage, Stan Godwin and Gary Staff. Next up, we're going to talk briefly about the proposals that the Mill Supporters Club gave last week surrounding season tickets and this week's statement from the club in light of the requirements for stadia in light of the pandemic requirements. Jeff, let's start with you. What do you make of it?
Well, I'm glad I didn't have to make a decision like this. It is difficult. Look, it will be wonderful to think that some stage this season we'll be able to have the ground full, particularly if we're making up my predicted promotion push. I think we will do better than this season. That's my opinion. So it'd be lovely to get the fans back in. There probably is no perfect solution to this. Perhaps there could have been a bit more consultation, but the club's in a difficult situation. I'm just pleasantly surprised we can have any fans there at such an early stage of the season. I thought they'd be complete behind closed doors till around Christmas. So, look, I didn't renew my season ticket before lockdown. I'm hoping to be one of the lucky 900 that does so as soon as we're able to.
Stan, what do you think?
Well, it was, I mean, just sort of slightly following on from what Jeff says. I mean, whatever the decision that was going to be made for the upcoming season, you know, was never going to be an easy decision. I mean, I sometimes I wonder, you know, I mean, I think some people thought that, you know, that when we get to next season, if we were going to have fans in the ground, you know, it was just going to be like everyone was going to rock up as we did before. Well, that was never ever going to happen. And so, you know, it was so there was always going to be somebody that was going to be disappointed or annoyed or got the right ache or whatever terminology you want to use. Yeah, I agree with Jeff when he mentions about there should have been more consultation. I mean, but then you see on a wider front, this is what concerns me a lot these days with the MSC because you don't tend to hear too much from them. You know, and all of a sudden, this thing about the tickets and what was going to happen next season had been boiling away for a little while. I mean, you didn't need to be Sherlock Holmes to work it out. And all of a sudden, this thing suddenly appears. and sort of all hell breaks loose initially. Whether it's calmed down or not, I don't know. But as it stands at the moment, I mean, unlike Jeff, I'm going to be lucky because I put in for me season ticket before the lockdown period anyway. So fingers crossed, and whatever else you can cross, I shall be there. But no, it's difficult, and it's But the only thing is, I think at some point is that I think there will be pressure on during the course of the season to if we don't suddenly have a sudden rise in coronavirus, there'll be pressure on to say, look, we want to start getting more people in the ground because it's beginning to give people the right ump all this with one thing and another, and and to get back into a football ground on a Saturday afternoon is going to be wonderful. And will the people who can't come, right? Will they have the option of watching the thing on iFollow? I mean, I don't know. It's a bit arbitrary, isn't it? Because some people, normally don't put in, and they couldn't put in, even though they extended the period initially, the Super Saver period, they couldn't put in for their ticket because the ground was shut down, so they couldn't get there even if they wanted to. And it's a problem, But it was never ever going to be easy, though.
No, absolutely not. Gary, what do you make of the whole situation?
Well, I'm in Jeff's boat, unfortunately. I didn't get my tickets before. Hoped out for, as I said on the previous shows, that they would extend it, and then they locked everything down. I normally buy my ticket beginning of April, and by then everything had been shut down and disorganised. So on the way it's been organised, I think they should have looked. It's a home ticket. They should have looked at they're saying that people who've had a ticket last season should get one. Yes, that's 100% correct. But they should also look at, everyone's saying, it should be the point scheme. This is a home ticket. I can get to 90 to 100% of every home game, but I've got a family of kids and I'm not going to be able to travel every other weekend when I'd love to go to away games. So I don't accumulate as many points as I'd like to. And therefore, I do miss out on some games which I'd like to get to if they're on a points system. So this is a home situation. So I think it should be looked on. If you've had a season ticket for the last 5 to 10 years, we need to look down that avenue if they're going to change it again. But if, for example, I'm unlucky, and then all of a sudden in November, December, they say, right, we're going to let more people into the ground now, are they going to be on a first-come, first-served basis again, or are we going to say, right, the 901, each should get one next, 902, whoever was in queue, if you know what I mean? That's where the tickets are going to land, because it's got to be some kind of fair system to the people that wanted to get them in the first place.
I think there's one thing I would say. I haven't seen the details of it, frankly, because the idea of having a regular seat and the next 2 or 3 along from me being compulsorily empty, that's not the same experience as we're all used to having at a Millwall home game, is it? No. I can't say I'm bristling with enthusiasm for going to games when it's going to be like that. But one thing I do understand, Gary, is that there'll be no away fans. Certainly in this initial period, there'll be no away fans at any games.
No.
So the point about accumulating points for good away matches, certainly initially, I don't think that's going to arise at all. But
no, what I mean is on last year, Jeff, unlike points where people have picked points up on last year, they should be getting the tickets at home. But hold on a minute, that's not always fair for someone that's been actually 15 years, maybe 20 years a season ticket holder. So surely that should stand me in higher stead than as a home ticket purchaser, rather than someone who goes to a lot of away games and might not necessarily go to all the home games, but he's got all the points.
We'll have to see what they do, but one thing's for sure, when they announce that they're going to go back on sale, I will be going online that morning. I would like to get mine.
Yeah.
And I just hope for the best.
Well, wasn't there a guarantee to confirm it's actually going to happen now in the first week in October? And from the supporters going in. So hopefully we should get something maybe beginning of next week when they're going to go on sale.
Hope so.
I totally agree. I think it was always going to be a very tough task finding out and discussing when we're going to be able to get fans back in and how we go about that. So we can't please everyone. Mill will start their 2020-21 season on the weekend of the 12th of September with fixtures for the upcoming campaign due to be released next Friday, the 21st of August. People continue to lose their lives to this dreadful virus and remain hospitalised too. Our thoughts and prayers go to all of their families, friends and those that take care of them.
Yeah, just one thing I would like to add. I had a bit of, I would call it sad news. In a guy who sits with me, or used to sit with me on the Coldblow Lane upper, guy by the name of Dan Gibson, who's been a Millwall supporter for many years, unfortunately had an accident indoors and he was lying, he broke his hip, he had a fall and he was lying on the floor, I think it was Friday night, Saturday morning, before he was discovered. And he was taken off to St Thomas's Hospital. As far as I know, he seems to be doing okay. It's as okay as you can with that sort of complaint. So hopefully, I'm hoping he's well on the road to recovery. So I just sort of like to mention him and wish him well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Get well soon, Dan.
Indeed.
Yes, next week it will be Bethany, Ted and Pat, otherwise known as the A-Team, who will be with you all next week. Gary will be less noisy than tonight in the host hot seat. Hopefully Pat's cats will keep quiet for you, Gary. Good night to everybody from me. See you all soon, I hope, and come on the Lions.
Player sponsorship for the Lionesses is available for the forthcoming seasons also. Why not give them some added support, and you can find the details on their website. Just put in Millwall Lionesses into your browser and you'll find them easily enough. But for now, that's good night from me.
Right, just finally, our current interviews special featuring former Millwall board member, former chairman of both the Lions and Lionesses, and a panel member of this show tonight, Jeff Burnage, and his fellow panel member, Gary Staff. The final episode was released on Tuesday on our Facebook and Twitter social media sites. It's also available on Millwall No One Likes Us Talking site on Spreaker.com and under Millwall No One Likes Us Talking on Spotify, Google and Apple Podcasts. A new interview special is in the pipeline, so watch out for details on social media. Good night.
Lastly, let's not forget to still keep it safe on the streets out there, which means social distancing and a face mask where necessary. That's it from me. Thanks to Jeff, Stan and Gary. Until the next time, good night.
Good night all.
Good night, everyone.
Good night all.